So let me ask you a question. Have you ever avoided something so small and so dumb that it actually started to feel big and philosophical? Like replying to a text that literally says like sounds good, or folding laundry that's been clean for so long now it's just your second closet but on the couch?
Or that weird thing where you keep moving like one post-it note from one side of your desk to the other side of your desk, and you've never actually done anything with it. You just kind of move it around the desk.
It's like you're in an emotional staring contest with your to-do list and you're losing every time.
So that's why today we're talking about avoidance. Not just the quote, I'll get to it later kind, but the real psychology underneath all of that. The reason why your brain keeps saying, let's literally do anything else but this, and you can do this forever.
We're going to get into why your nervous system thinks that you're in danger when you're just avoiding a calendar invite, and maybe how to start shifting that pattern without feeling like you have to overhaul your whole life.
And you know what? We'll keep it honest and we'll keep it helpful. Well, and probably an awful lot of relatability to it as well.
Avoidance. It's not laziness, it's psychology.
All right, let's do this.
Welcome to the Nature of Everything podcast with Bo and Clint, where we deep dive into the world of personal development through coin. Confirm it, own it, be intentional, and change the nature of everything.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Nature of Everything. I'm Bo.
And I'm Clint. And today we're jumping into something that we've both got advanced degrees in. And I'm not talking about like something from a university, but from the very real school of just simply being human.
We're talking about avoidance. And not the kind that's cute, like, oh, I forgot to check the email. We're talking about the real, the sneaky kind, the kind that wears disguises like procrastination or overthinking or suddenly needing to reorganize the refrigerator.
Yeah, like when your brain decides that replying to one text is actually too emotionally risky. However, alphabetizing your spice rack, well, that just feels productive.
And look, while we're not scientists and we're not neuroscientists, we're not even brain hobbyists. I mean, we can read, and we've been reading about what's going on under the hood, like how avoidance is wired into our nervous system and how our brains, they're trying to protect us, really, and how sometimes that protection, it keeps us stuck.
Realistically, we think it's important that we bring some of that science actually to the table and discuss that, like some of the psychology and some of the brain chemistry. And we'll do our best to, like translate it into human speak that we understand, and maybe you will too. But that being said, if something clicks, outstanding. That's awesome. If not, you know what? Leave it on the table. Throw it away. File it where you want. You get to decide what sticks and what's important to you.
This is not a lecture. This is a conversation. And the goal today is just to help all of us understand why we avoid and maybe how to practice doing things a little bit differently.
Because it just turns out that avoiding stuff, it's not about being lazy. It's about being wired to survive. Even when the threat, as it were, is just a tough conversation or maybe an annoying email or that blank Google Doc that you've been staring at for however long.
And before we go any further, heads up, we're going to hit you with several research nuggets, and not to sound fancy or to overdo it, but because we want you to know that avoidance, it's not just some pop psychology word or some cute Pinterest quote. It's really backed by science, neuroscience, psychology, behavior theory, all of it.
Yeah, but don't worry. We're not testing you on any of it. Like there's nothing that you're going to have to necessarily bring back. But we are going to
get out your Scantron.
Yeah, get ready to journal what you don't know. But we are going to name drop a few things, like some big ideas, and we'll connect the dots as we go. So you're not lost in all of the words. But like I said, it's going to be here because we think that the solid foundation of where this comes from is important.
So let's talk about it. Avoidance. Let's not avoid avoidance.
I see what you did there.
I know, right? But like, here's the deal. Like it, like you said, it's not laziness. It's a protective response. And it's probably one of the most human ones that we have. It's your brain and your body saying like, oh, let's not feel that. Let's not face that. And let's get the hell out of here.
And actually the psychology world has a name for this. It's called experiential avoidance. And that's when we try to dodge uncomfortable thoughts or feelings or memories or sensations. And researchers have found that it's tied to everything from anxiety and burnout to poor health outcomes and life satisfaction. Like there's a bunch going on with this. And like I said, it's called experiential avoidance. And if you want to just like really geek out later and dig into it, this comes from the Journal of Contextual Behavioral Science.
And that's what makes this sticky, this avoidance. When you avoid something, you usually feel better immediately. And that's the trap. You get instant relief. And your brain, specifically your striatum, it takes note. And that part of your brain, it handles habit loops and rewards. And when it notices like, hey, avoidance equals relief, it wires that behavior in.
So over time, what started as a decision, it becomes this sort of a default. And recent studies, like one out of eLife Sciences, suggest that brain circuits responsible for avoiding discomfort are separate from the ones that help us learn we're actually safe. So if you think about that, avoidance in and of itself, it doesn't teach us resilience. It actually is teaching us a different practice. It teaches us to skip the lesson, to skip the practice.
Let that sink in. Avoidance gives you relief, but it doesn't give you any new evidence. You don't get a confidence boost. You don't get a practice at getting through it. Just another rep in the, I can't handle this gym.
And by the way, if you feel like this is your pattern, like don't freak out. You're human. So it's not that you're broken. Other research even shows that some people's brains are just actually more tuned in to avoidance. They're tuned to avoid. People higher in neuroticism or more sensitive to perceived threat, as it were. So if that's you, it just means that the wiring's a little different. But that's it. You're still not broken. You're still human.
So now that we know what's going on under the hood, your brain's trying to protect you, but maybe it's overcorrecting a little bit. The question becomes, how do we start to gently break that pattern?
You're absolutely right. How do you interrupt this thing? And it starts simple. It's so simple that your brain might try to dismiss it. But as we've said before, it starts by naming it, not fixing it, not psychoanalyzing it, not getting into the deep layers of your striatum, as you mentioned, noticing and naming what's going on, what's happening.
It's kind of like it's the, oh, I see you moment. It's when you pause to yourself and you say like, I'm avoiding this email because it makes me feel stupid. Or I'm dragging my feet on this thing because I'm afraid it won't be good enough. You don't have to do anything about it yet. Just name it.
And there's some real science there. It's called affect labeling. Just putting words to what you're feeling. Studies show that this simple act lights up your prefrontal cortex. And that part of the brain, it helps you regulate emotions. So as this is lighting up, as it's getting like moving, it dampens activity in your amygdala, which is where your fear center is.
I mean, I thought we said that we're not scientists. How non-scientific can we be?
Well, I mean, this is for those who are.
Right. Okay. Look, so you're basically giving your nervous system a little, it's cool, I've got this signal just by naming it. And you're stepping out of reactivity and you're stepping into awareness.
And from there, just like from that place of naming it, we practice tiny movements in the opposite direction. We move away from the things that are teaching us the wrong practice.
I think the key word there is tiny. This is not like launch a company energy. This is send one sentence energy. This is open the document. This is text a friend and say like, I'm struggling with this. Hold me to it. Small stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. It's it's the integral steps that we always talk about, because at this point, it's not about a huge master plan. You need one action that reminds your brain, hey, we're capable. This isn't a threat.
And look, if your brain pushes back and says like, but that won't fix the whole thing, like, congratulations. You've met Perfectionism, which is avoidance's annoying cousin.
Perfectionism. It's like that friend who shows up to help you move, but then critiques the way you tape the box, and then they break your coffee table while they're critiquing what you're doing.
And the key here, it's momentum. It's not mastery. Because what breaks the avoidance loop, it's not force, it's proof. Little pieces of proof that say, like, you know what? I did a thing and the sky didn't fall.
Absolutely. So our first step with this isn't to overhaul our whole life. For one, it's not reasonable. It's not even remotely manageable. But our first step is just notice. Just simply notice, where is avoidance quietly calling the shots? Where have you been eliminating, pausing, running from, being afraid of your own growth?
And can you name it? Like, can you give it a sentence? Then you can pick one thing, one little tiny thing that nudges you toward the discomfort, like just a little bit.
And that's it. That's awareness. It's that tiny practice, but it's being aware, which is huge, but it's a tiny practice. So be aware, name it. It's a tiny practice, huge results. Let's say that you've seen the pattern and you know that you're avoiding. Maybe you've even named it a few times, but still nothing's changing. So you keep circling around that same issue. There's still the question of why.
Because insight, it's not always enough. Like sometimes your nervous system is so well practiced in avoiding that it doesn't care that your mind gets it. Your body's already like halfway down the escape hatch before you've even really dealt with it.
And once again, science backs that up. Avoidance becomes this conditioned pattern. Avoidance can become your common practice if you're not paying attention. It's like a reflex, really. And that pattern, that practice doesn't just simply break because you noticed it. Like that is a piece. That is the integral first start piece. But you've got to introduce something new into the loop, not just simply notice that it's there.
So what helps? I think first we stop judging it. We say, okay, this is happening. This is what I do sometimes. Look, that sounds basic, but it's kind of a big deal because it shifts you out of shame and into awareness. And second, like Clint said, make a tiny move. Like I've said before on the podcast, like the tiniest possible move that you think that you can make that's not even important. It's not a grand plan. It's not a huge gesture. Just something small that says, you know what? I'm willing to try a new response.
For that reason, simply your brain needs new data. If every time you avoid, you get relief, that loop gets stronger, right? That becomes a practice. But if you try something different, even the little baby step that you're talking about, you start to gather evidence that maybe the thing you've been avoiding, well, maybe it's not as dangerous as it feels.
Man, like I feel like that's the body of what we're talking about. So maybe you've been putting off a conversation for months. Like you're aware of it, but you just can't make yourself do it. Start with this. Don't have the conversation. Just write the first sentence you might say. Don't even send it. Just see how it feels. And you know what? That might be enough for today.
And I don't know, maybe tomorrow, read it again. Go through it again. Maybe tweak that sentence. Maybe you do eventually send it because you get there. The point isn't to force the outcome, but there is a reason to disrupt the rhythm of avoidance. You get to offer your system a chance to reroute or rewire or practice something different that works for you.
And look, it can feel frustratingly slow, but this is how real change happens. Not with big, grand, dramatic gestures, but with quiet repetitions of, you know what, I'm still here and I'm still showing up.
So if the fears are loud, if that really is all up in your face, or the patterns feel old and you're stuck in the rut of these patterns, you don't need to conquer it today. It's not like you're slaying a dragon. You just need to add a little contrast to what you're usually up to. Like you just need to throw a little new spiciness into what's going on in your patterns and see what happens.
And look, that sounds really good. But, you know, like sometimes it's not enough, right? It feels like it's not enough because my brain, it needs something to do.
And you know what? That's fair. So we've named the pattern, let's say. Let's say we've observed, we've recognized it, and we've named the pattern. So what do you do when you're in it? here's a move you can use this week to start shifting these things. The idea is that you spot the avoidance signal and then you take that tiny step towards what you're avoiding. Just enough to gather evidence. Give your brain a fresh view, get some new data on board, like check what is different and make a tiny move towards that slight difference.
It's like, hey, I moved toward it and nothing catastrophic happened.
Yeah, and there's a reason why this works. Like the naming piece gives your brain context and breaks that autopilot sort of feel. And over time, you build a new practice. You've changed the loop, as it were. You've changed the continuum. If you move forward and there is a safe outcome, a new belief that's in conflict with avoidance. It's new belief versus avoidance, as it were. Now the relief is the fact that you're facing the avoidance. Now you're going to get relief because you're tackling this avoidance. And you know what? That's a new data set for you. And now you get to maintain belief that you can handle it. Now you have a new practice that your brain accepts. There's research that says your brain accepts that now you can handle this. This is something that you want to tackle.
It ties into a bigger idea in psychology. It's called behavioral activation. And research shows that deliberately engaging in some kind of meaningful action, even when you don't feel like it, it helps reduce that avoidance. And you know what? It improves your mood. So maybe we're tricking our brain a little, but you're giving it new evidence.
All right, so here's your challenge for the week. I think that if we all would focus on choosing one thing that we've been avoiding, we'll call it the thing, right? Whatever the thing is.
The thing.
The thing.
You know what the thing is. I know what the thing is.
We know what the thing is. So we're going to call it the thing. So notice the next time the thing pops up and the not now voice is in your ear and says, all right, here's what we're going to do. Here's what's going on. I'm avoiding the thing because I feel like, and be honest, why are you avoiding the thing? Tell yourself honestly, I feel like I'm scared. I'm embarrassed. I feel small. I feel weak. I feel other people are watching. They may laugh at me. Okay, name it and say it out loud. Make it obvious to yourself. And then pick that little tiny step. 5-10 minute max worth of work time on this, or focus. Write a sentence about it. Set a timer. Open the file. Send the email. Whatever it's going to be, take that moment and make a tiny step forward. After you do this, pause, breathe. Breathe through the anxiety. Breathe through the pain. Like, notice what actually happened. Was it as bad as you thought it was going to be? Was anything different? Did anything catastrophic take place?
And then repeat it. And not just once. Because your brain's old loop, it's had a lot of practice, right? You've had a lot of practice. I've had a lot of practice in avoiding. That's very comfortable for me. So, this new practice, you're going to have to give it some new reps. Still the little tiny ones, but real ones. Maybe we've got some catching up to do. But you will catch up if you stop that old routine and you start this new one.
Absolutely. And look, we already know it's not going to be perfect. But the more you show up and the more you instigate this calmly and know that you're doing it intentionally, the less dramatic these reactions are going to feel, and they're not going to be the large hurdle. As you show up calmly, you're providing new data points.
So look, if there's one thing that we hope that you take from today, it's this. Avoidance, it's not a flaw, it's a pattern. And just like any pattern, it can be disrupted. And not necessarily with big dramatic moves, but with little tiny moments of recognition, maybe some curiosity, and definitely an ounce of courage.
And remember, it's not about overnight overhauling. It's not about fixing yourself because you're broken. You're not. You're human. It's about noticing when the old patterns and the old practices and the old reflexes show up and just trying something different. Even if it's for 5 minutes, even if it's once, that's enough to start loosening the grip of these old patterns.
Yeah, so look, we're not going to hit you over the head with it today, but if you do want to dig deeper, there's more where this came from. You can check out coinyourlife.com for the book, some tools, and other episodes that pair well with this one.
And if nothing else, keep noticing, keep practicing, Keep being aware. Keep making those little tiny steps. Because remember, you're not behind. You're not behind the curve. You're just simply human.
I dig it.
Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to check out coinyourlife.com and find us on social media.